going on. So I don't know if you want to.
Well, I think I can add a lot of things about AI, and maybe to talk a bit about some interconnections and some relations. So about AI, I have to say that there is no such thing as artificial intelligence. So what we mean by artificial intelligence are these machine learning algorithms, which are basically all these libraries in all these algorithms which can be applied to many, many different things. So it's, and also we have a lot of different architectures, so a lot of different approaches. But what is interesting is that machine learning is a general purpose technology. So it's something which can be implemented to probably anything. So we can just use this technology to analyze different kinds of information. We can work with any data, with sound, with digital images, with some data, some scientific data. And of course, we also can apply it to some databases, some archives. And also what is interesting to me that probably AI is also a heritage in some sense. So, well, but if we talk about cultural heritage, we can analyze this with AI. And if we think about some interconnections between cultural heritage and AI, maybe, well, it's also some artifacts made by humans. So probably in the future, all these architectures of machine learning, which we use now, they can also be seen as some cultural heritage. They can be seen as some art. Well, I think maybe even now we can think of them as of some arts, because it's super creative. But when you are inventing some tool, it also can be a creative process. Well, so I think it's also interesting.
And just to follow up, we just have like this very close question on from our like viewers. Then we're speaking about like heritage, but let's think about it's like more wide than just a cultural heritage. And in connection to this, we just have a question: whose heritage as artificial intelligence itself? So Helena, you just said that like we can consider artificial intelligence as a heritage.
Yes.
But if we are not speaking only about this machine, like technical structures, the written code that is behind, if we will try to go a bit wider, what we can say about who create this heritage, whose heritage it is?
Who created? Scientists?
Yeah.
Of course, they created this heritage. And well, also I thought that this distinction between art and science is something just, it's just an imaginary thing. So it's also some concept. We can see a lot of examples when scientists, they could also be considered as artists. I mean, Gordon Pask, for example, and also, well, I always remember this incredible exhibition, Cybernetic Serendipity. It's incredible, but by Yassir Reinhardt. This is incredible. And most of the participants, they were scientists, of course, but they were just brought to this context of cyber arts, in this context of museum, and then they were artists. But now when we think of them, well, of course they were scientists, but also they were artists.
I'll be picking on that. I think that whose heritage is that. We have also we need to think also in the bias on the algorithm, on the machine learning. Machine learning has been used and produced in kind of the north of the globe, and it's got a lot of bias. The way the icons that they're feeding this. For instance, I was reading the other day. Oh well, this is something that is obvious. Is that for instance, machine learning that is looking at faces, they can recognize white people very well, but when it's black people, that's not happening. So what's heritage is that is heritage is being made for half of the population of the world, and it's made in very specific places. So when we think about this heritage, it's kind of problematic because AI is very biased, and to kind of think about that as just a tool to create is also who is created and for what is created. What's the creation? So kind of we need to think about this problematic very well, because I think, for instance, here in Latin America, we don't have that sort of like technology anyway. It's quite difficult to get hold of it, and so it's the big companies making them, and for what, and what's the purpose of that? And kind of obviously there's some artists that are trying to problematize that and make it into art, but like in the big picture, I think that's the problem that we're facing. It's just we're replicating what happens in the past with colonialism and all those things. Like it's just the half populations that are trying to get something for the or China, or like is. I think that's what we have to start looking at with AI.
Well, I would like to reply, because the problem is that not AI is biased, that our society is biased. And I really like this quote by some scientist. I forgot her name. I'm sorry, but she said, she's a computer scientist, and she said it's much more difficult to debias people than to debias AI systems. Of course, there's a problem with biases, but mostly what they just reproduce biases in society. And of course, this is a problem. And of course, there is the other problem, because all these technologies, they can be applied also for mass surveillance and mass opinion manipulations. But at the same moment, I just talk about them as heritage when this architecture or some algorithms, when they are produced, this is just a tool. Of course, when they're applied to mass surveillance systems, this is terrible. But when we talk about them as heritage, it's really a heritage for humanity. And also, I thought about this question. Whom is this heritage? I think it's just a heritage of humanity, because also because computer science community is open source community. So they just post these papers, scientific papers online, and everyone can use this paper just to produce some code, some implementation, and also to post it on GitHub, and then all people can use it. And in this context, of course, this is a heritage, but it doesn't mean that there are no biases when we apply it to some, I don't know, when we have some application. Yeah.
With that sense, when you said like this open source is an open community, in that moment it becomes like heritage in that goes through one person to another and to another to another, and everyone is kind of rebuilding it and making it better, and trying to kind of find solutions to all the problems that another science can face. And in that sense, it's kind of here in Colombia. Well, like back in the day, we didn't have like the written world. Everything was spoken. So like in that sense, it reminds me to that. And when you just tell to someone else the story, and then the other person tells the other one and the other one, so it becomes like that spoken, like heritage, like in that sense, like
intangible heritage.
Intangible cultural, intangible heritage, I would say, in that sense. the algorithm. The problem there, but I guess it's always been a problem with that. It's like who can read that algorithm and who can apply that algorithm. So like it becomes also very close to people that have that knowledge and have that computer power to make it. So in that sense, it's also problematic in that sense because it's just a little community that has been able to reproduce that. So if you don't have the computer power, if you don't have knowledge, you cannot use it. So it becomes quite clicky, quite endemic, I would say. So then what's the solution for that? How can we? Because obviously the things that are being produced, the things that can be that can serve to a lot of people, but like the person that has the knowledge is very, very small. Like the sector of people who has the knowledge is very small. So that can be a problem as well.
Well, I don't think this is the problem because everything is open. You can use internet and you can find a lot of information. There are a lot of tutorials, so you can just start learning, and this is not a problem. But computer power is a problem, of course, yes, because mostly computer power belongs to big tech companies, so we cannot use this technology just to build these huge models as Google, for instance. But at the same moment, we can just use this DIY approach. We can learn about this technology and we can just start build something small just to understand how it works. And this is, I think this is really important to understand how it works. Of course, we cannot produce something like Google, but at the same moment, we can be creative as artists. It's also great that many interesting things and some inventions were produced by artists. And I always remember this incredible group from Mexico, Electronic Disturbance Theater, and that they invented the DOC attack. This is incredible that artists produced the first DDoS attack. I think this is great, and there are a lot of amazing examples. Like artists could just help us to realize some opportunities which are just hidden in some technology. So we can just use internet to educate ourselves and to start experiment.
I just have one. I don't know, like Helena, please fix me and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that I read about the fact that you can like somehow donate the power of your computer, but like if you're not using it, and you can donate this power to run some programs from outside. So like if this one could be also used in machine learning, I think this is a very great case how we can like all come together, like speaking both as a heritage too, and like trying to be in as a community to produce, to help somebody else to like really run that programs and really run that like programs on different machines. So I think this is a really good example of how like people could be creative and finding the way to like really do something in connection to like big and high technologies. So that also could be like this common activity could be then at some point a heritage that will be like combining together, like we are like sitting together, like we're giving our computers to run some programs, and this is a part like of like this 21st century new technological era.
Well, this is a good idea. It can be done. Well, so there are different interesting examples when people can just donate their computer power to solve some problems, like well, I know about this open source program about they're trying to discover the structure of coronavirus, and you can also donate your computer power. I think well, it can also be used like this, but well, but there are also applications like this Google CoOp. well, of course, it's from Google, from big tech company, but at the same moment, they just provide their GPU for free, and you can just use this GPU for free for scientific and some artistic purposes. And of course, it's also like for not forever. It's like for 12 hours, but you can also build some model in these 12 hours. And well, I know this from my friends, computer scientists, and I also use it, and we use it with students. So it's something really like easy to use.
And like,
but this is an idea that we can share computer power to work with AI.
And going back to this connection between media, arts, and AI, we have a question. Do we need to create a new heritage of media and art to better solve new ethical issues that will undoubtedly arise the more power we give to AI?
Can you read again? Sorry.
Do we need to create the new heritage of media and art to better solve new ethical issues that will undoubtedly arise the more power we give to AI? Because we speak a lot of these like ethical issues and so on.
I think that there needs to be a change on perceptions, a change of how we understand objectability, like what's an object, and what do you think, what do you believe is heritage? And when we do that jump, when we start thinking in different ways, when we stop thinking about the original, that original thing that we always been obsessed in art, for instance, like this original artifact that we have to buy or sell, and we start to think about in a different process, and in the process, because AI is process. It's never something that you can kind of say this is it and this is what we've got, because it's always changing. It's always becoming something else. So when we kind of have that jump, kind of thinking about the less and how he used to becoming, and like how we always have in a constant change. I think that's what happens with media and digital art. It's never an object, and then we can start thinking and bypassing those ethical problems, ethical issues.
Well, I think this is a great question, and also, well, many artists are working with this ethical issues related to AI. This is a really big trend, let's say, in new media arts. But also, do we have solved these problems? Because we are artists, and sometimes we can just, well, we can just suggest something, but I don't think we just have to think how to solve these ethical problems. Maybe we can just collaborate with scientists just to think together, and just to build some community of artists and scientists to discuss this together, because it cannot be separated. Art from, I mean, in this AI, because it comes from computer science, so it cannot work like this. So we should just communicate to build some community, and maybe to build some, I don't know, some tools together.
Okay, we also have very nice comment to some part that we discussed before about like how AI is connected to heritage. So since AI is inherently iterative at the moment, heritage has a strong impact on this in its development. Each AI builds upon the lessons of lesser version and also upon generation of itself. So I think this notion of this heritage and generation into AI we missed, like, because we thought about who produced it, and like this code also could be used as a heritage, but the fact that AI at some point is like conceive history as a part of it, like building on the new version and so on. It's like really like take into account this notion of heritage too inside the program, like, or the principle itself. Okay, so to be honest, we already speaking 25 minutes, and if some of you have any idea to to cut up and to go back or to summarize something, let's use this opportunity right now.
Just to kind of think about heritage and AI at the end. I've been working on some of these ideas, and I've been thinking about how to use AI as a radical tool to make repatriations of objects. So in that sense, like how to use that AI not just to to see it as a heritage itself, but as a tool to make something else. As Helena was saying, it's a tool you can use for so many things. And I've been thinking about how can you use that to take objects that you cannot access because they're in European museums and bring them back to America as a kind of a speculative new object or new artifacts. So I think like AI can give us so many different ways and some different paths to do so many different things. I think it's a very powerful tool when we approach it in like kind of critical sense.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Masha, and thank you all media brainstorming team. I don't know what to add because we talk already a lot, and well, just thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your time, and I think this discussion, as like all our previous, opened more questions to those who had a chance to see this discussion, and then they will have an opportunity to think further with this. So I just would like to say thank you to all of those who saw this long day discussions and brainstorming sessions, to all those who participate, leaving comments. And thank you, Juan and Helena, that you became the part and the best ending that we could imagine for these sessions.
Thank you very much for having me and for the invitation, and nice to meet you, Helena.
Thank you.
Thank you.